Steven Spielberg called me and he said, I've got a project. He said, I think it's right up your alley. And would you be interested in doing it? I said, if you got a project, I'm interested in doing it, but what is it?
The Goonies premiered in 1985, earning $61 million at the box office. That made it one of the top 10 highest-grossing movies of the year. But it was clear from the start, the story of 7 kids and their coming-of-age adventure would do more than make money. A generation of moviegoers would soon crown it a cult classic.
Well, first of all, we all knew it was going to be a hit because it was Steven Spielberg and Richard Donner. You're talking about, look at just the trailer for it coming out. Superman, The Omen, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was the teaser trailer that was in the theaters, and it was like people were just like, oh, chomping at the bit for that movie to come out.
Movie moguls Steven Spielberg and Richard Donner were on board to produce and direct, but essential to the start of the project, finding just the right location to film.
We all jumped into a van, and we started driving up California, the West Coast. And we'd stop at little towns, and it was good, that was good, this is good, that is good. We got all the way up to Astoria. It was pissing down with rain. And we went into a motel. It was real early. Everybody changed their clothes, showered. We got back out, we got in this van, we started to drive, and it was like the sun came out. Oh my God, this place is unbelievable. And you got the port, and you got the river, and you got this and this, and it was like time stood still. It was a town that needed the Goonies to save it. And that was it. It was just one look, and it was that fall in love. Astoria was it.
And I just remember how beautiful and cozy and lovely, and what a great little town it had.
To me, one of the most beautiful places in the world, and certainly I would say the top on the list for the United States. It's just, the greenery is amazing, the oceans are amazing, the lakes and the rivers, they have it all.
Astoria did have it all, including inconsistent weather.
Very unpredictable, but apparently folks up there are used to it. It rained, and when it wasn't raining, they had to wet the street so it would match.
Well, the weather was a challenge, but we were very flexible, and it's what one says about Astoria. You wait 5 minutes and the weather changes. I think that was the most difficult problems we had. I know when we did the exterior of the restaurant up on it was like hurricane weather up there at times. Really rain coming horizontal and blowing, and everybody would head for the trailers. But hey, we're filmmakers.
As the crew settled in, the town took notice.
When we first heard of the Goonies coming, of course, I work with the city of Astoria, and so the location managers come and try to find the sites. And once they decided to come to Astoria, of course, everybody got excited, but no one knew what a Goonie was.
Or who the Goonies would be.
I actually first auditioned for the role of Mouth, because I would do impersonations. That was part of my shtick. I was a little fat kid and I was a little clown. So I tried out for Mouth, and they said that you sound like a mouth but you look like a chunk. So I went back a second time and I learned new lines, Chunk's part.
While the role of Chunk went to Jeff Cohen, established child actor Corey Feldman faced some competition for the part of Mouth.
Actually, I had to go in and read for the role. And one interesting little anecdote is that sitting in the waiting room at Amblin the day that I had to go in and read for Stephen and Kathleen Kennedy and all of them was Corey Haim. And that was the first time we met.
Rising star Sean Astin joined the cast, along with Jonathan Keyquan, who had worked with Spielberg on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Kerry Green, Martha Plimpton, and Josh Brolin rounded out the cast of kids. But every good story needs a bad guy. The Goonies had 3, a mama, Ann Ramsey, and sons Jake and Francis Fratelli, played by Robert Davi and Joe Pantoliano.
There was a guy named Robert Davi who I was paired off with, and Davi and I had a very caustic relationship back in the day. We didn't like each other very much. I certainly didn't like him. I can only imagine that he didn't like me. And what happened was that he tried to sabotage me in the audition. I had my hairpiece on, and he said, Joey wears a wig, and I off of that, I pulled it off and moved it forward. I said, yeah, so if you want me to be younger, I could be younger, I could be older, and I guess Dick and Steven liked that relationship, so we got the job. Davi and I got the job, and I think, you know, what you see in the Goonies is really the evolution of our relationship at that time.
It's pretty close to what he said, not exactly what he said, but I did make reference to that he was wearing the hairpiece because I had much more hair than him, and I like to tease him about that, and that was where the animosity came from. But our relationship was a lot of fun.
He stole his license plate off his car. He nailed my dressing room door shut, and I couldn't get out. I was locked in my dressing room.
I absolutely nailed his dressing room door shut.
Both Stephen and Dick would go like, "Oh, that's great. We got to put that in the movie. We'll put that in the movie." So they basically put our hatred in the movie, and it became this sibling rivalry that happened. Was totally not scripted.
Another unscripted moment came when someone pulled Cohen's hair to provoke a particular on-screen reaction.
Chunk was very good. He was fun. I remember Joey told you about what he did. He pinched the hair on the back of his neck.
No, man, that was Davi. It was Davi. Because you know what? He's a liar. He's a liar and a child's hair puller. That's what he is, that bastard.
Jeff will tell you a whole bunch of stuff that...
No, I swear to God, it was Davi because he was right next to me. I think in the movie, he's the one who's right next to me. I think you have to go to the tape. You gotta go to the tape, guys, see what's up. I think Davi's full of shit.
Sloth was played by John Matusak, who endured hundreds of hours in heavy prosthetics and makeup.
And I think John brought a lot to the character. He was the largest man in the National Football League.
I was like this. I mean, he was enormous. The guy was 6'6", 6'7", and 5 feet wide.
The man was humongous. He was, what, 6'9", weighed about 300 pounds. And he was always eating French fries and drinking milkshakes because the mask was about that far away from his own mouth, so he couldn't eat.
Yeah, I teased him, you know, when he had the prosthetics on. Because I would go, oh man, I've got this tickle here, it's just amazing. You know, and then boy, you know what it is when you have John, do you have an itch under there? Is there anything there that's bothering you? And then I would eat, and he couldn't really, you know, do his eating stuff, and I would go, these are the fantastic hamburger, John. I mean, it's great. So it's stuff like that, tease him, but he would laugh. It was cute.
And he had it the worst because he'd have to go to work at like 4 in the morning and get made up. And that makeup and the sun and the hot lights, and it just he was melting, and I never saw him complain once. He may have. I mean, he should have. If somebody else may have seen it,
but he never did complain.
No
Footage
kidding.
from the makeup test proves it.
So here's all these people running back like Charlie. Now they're putting their head on him. Oh my God, I forgot all this. Poor John. What an early death. What a sweet, gentle lion. You've heard the story about John when it took hours to put this makeup on. And when we did the sequence in the water, when they first see the ship, and I said to the kids, whatever you do, don't get John's makeup wet, because if you do, it's going to get ruined. And they said, oh, don't worry, we won't. They jumped in the water and ran right over to John! Here, this guy had been in the makeup for 5 hours, never said a thing. Wow. He said, do I have to do this again? I said, I'm afraid. And I think he'd kill the kids. Oh my God, look at this. Look at that eye that we had to put in, the slanting eye, and oh gosh, this process is extraordinary. Poor John. He died so young. Look at the smile. It's that smile comes through. This was a sweet, gentle giant. Scary as hell. Even scary to me. But put his arm around you, and it was like, wow, you know, wow, I'm flying. It's just, Mama made everything real. Mama treating her as her son with these other two made everything real. God rest her soul. I believe she had this child because she believed it. That makes all the difference in the world. When you run into situations like this, how do you make this character work? How do you make this relatively grotesque, how do you make him real? Well, he had to believe it, and everybody around had to believe it. And I totally believe Mama gave birth to him, and I totally believe that Chunk fell in love with him. Chunk found him as the brother he never had.
How many rolling, Dave? I'm rolling. Hello, Dick. This is the new Tuesday.
The filmmakers found success in collaboration. The absence of ego and the willingness to listen enhanced the final picture. Even Spielberg pitched in as second unit director when the shooting got behind schedule.
You know, here it is, Steven Spielberg, Richard Donner, who am I, you know what I mean? But they were very open, so that's what's incredible. So it's this moment when Joey's character lights the gasoline that he's put around there. And they spent, the way it was scripted, was a dollar bill was supposed to light on fire, and then the dollar bill, he drops the money from the bank robbery that we had. I always felt in the back of my mind that moment, I said, well, that's going to be difficult to do it. I mean, because the bill and to land in there, it's going to float away. And they tried, so they were trying takes, and I said, you know what? Why doesn't he just pull out his gun? Or I said to my, actually, I said, why don't I just pull out my gun and and well, he's trying to do that, but we wanted to give that moment to Joey since I had the escape.
In this big Hollywood environment is the collaboration between Donner and Spielberg, and that anything was possible.
Critical to the authenticity of the characters was the authenticity of their surroundings.
I saw a for sale sign that was a huge sign that was up on the porch, and I went up in the attic and I thought, I want this house. I just fell in love with it. The man who owned this house before, apparently his grandparents lived here at the time that the movie was made, and I understand that substantial amount of work was done on the house structurally for Warner Brothers to actually be able to film here. He said the house would actually move back and forth, so I think they shored up some things.
All the stuff that was done at the Goonies house itself took a lot of time. All the interiors, that was one of the very unusual things about this shoot, was that all the interiors, with the exception of the attic scene, were shot at the house itself. Normally you would build a set on the soundstage to make room for the camera, but I think they liked the view out the windows and decided to just go for it there.
When Chunk came through that gate on the other side, I mean, he'd been through that gate a million times. Oh, guys, not again, you know. Those kids felt like it was their home. I mean, it was real to them. And the Rube Goldberg that made the gate open, and everything felt real, and you could go from inside out, inside out. I love that.
Also loved the ship. Built to scale, it attracted some unlikely attention.
The book on Harrison Ford just had come out. Filmography, you know, the films, you know how they do those film books of stars. So Steven bought a bunch of these books, and on the Warner Brothers soundstage, because everybody was coming by to see the pirate ship. So Harrison Ford was coming by, probably to talk business and to do this thing here. And he got copies of these books and gave everybody one, and we all were reading them as Harrison Ford came on the set. And I remember the repartee the two of them had, you know, asshole.
Spielberg also played tricks on the kids. One stunt brought the king of pop, Michael Jackson, to the set.
So I was doing a shot with Steven at the moment, and it was the shot where we're underground, and I'm playing with the pipes, and I turn to the camera and I say reverse pressure. And I give that big kind of scream, the primordial, you know. And, you know, Steven was looking for a particular reaction of intensity out of me. And so right as the shot's set up and right before he says action, says, Corey, by the way, Michael's coming. He'll be here in about an hour. And I was like, and that's what you see on film. So.
In 1985, Michael Jackson was like the most famous human being on earth. I mean, it was amazing. It was a fantastic concert. And more importantly, we had better seats than Ricky Schroeder. I recall this distinctly. All the Goonies were there with our guardians, and like we're like, oh dude, look, Ricky Schroeder's back up there. We're like, Ricky Schroeder.
Ricky Schroeder may have been unhappy with his seats, but Michael's chimp Bubbles had more reason to be upset after gorillas were gutted from the film.
We had gotten an original shooting script and went through it with Dick, and he was pointing out, oh, there was this, and oh, this. And apparently Steven Spielberg had come to the set and shot second unit for Dick on a scene that was supposed to be some apes from like the zoo had escaped during the whole pipe sequence.
In the original script, the kids, at the time that they're banging the pipes underground, one of the things that happens with them doing that is they accidentally free a bunch of zoo animals.
There were gorilla scenes.
Yeah.
Steven shot them. Stephen loved the gorillas. And I said, you know, if you love them that much, you shoot it.
There was these two gorillas named Bonzo and Bertha who escape, and they steal Steve Anton's character's red convertible and just go tooling around town raising hell with it. I saw them in the ape suits, and I asked somebody what was up with the ape suits, and they didn't give me the details, but they did tell me that they were the same ape suits that had been designed by Rick Baker for the movie Greystoke, the Tarzan movie that had come out a few years earlier.
And Steven shot that whole thing, and no, we can't find it anywhere.
We asked Michael Kahn and all those people over there at Warner Brothers, and they couldn't find the footage.
We searched, I mean, his collection, our collection, the Warner Brothers collection. Nobody knows where that is.
I don't think the gorilla suits really worked as well as we would have liked them.
Very disappointing because I had a lot of stuff, my character had a lot of stuff with them. And there was a pretty big deal with the squid or the octopus that pretty much all went away except for that one reference to it in the original film.
It looks so fake. I remember, I forget who the kid was, but I saw footage because Donner used to invite everybody into dailies. So we all went to see the Squid Geo fight, and it was like, I forget who the kid was, but I guess he was told to put the octopus, you know, thing around his neck to look like he was being strangled, and it was just like this limp thing. It was hysterical. You got to put that in there. You got to, because it really is bad.
Octopus technology, again, it hasn't even come forward. There's just not enough interest in the market of octopus technology.
I think it's in the DVD, but if you look at it really careful, it really wasn't a very well done piece of mechanics, and I felt it didn't look real enough for the film.
Also, not realistic enough for the film, the original ending that was shot in Astoria.
But the ending they shot here was essentially the same thing that you saw in the Bodega Bay location, with the exception that the housekeeper, the Spanish housekeeper, finds the rubies as she's going through Mikey's jacket in the laundry room of the house.
That was the first ending. That was the first ending. That's how I found the bag, the jewels. I'm taking his stuff out from his little pants and jacket and all that, and that's when I find it, and that's when I run out. See? And it was part of the first ending.
The reason, I think this is my own guess as to why they decided to reshoot it, but in the script that I saw, the ship at the end, the pirate ship, was buried under all the rubble. And I'm guessing at some point along the line in the production, they decided to instead have it sail off into the sunset. But they had already shot the ending here without the pirate ship.
Then they later called me and they said, we're going to reshoot the ending. They said something happened, whatever. And so we're now being taken to Bodega Bay.
You cut a scene that may have taken a week or 3 days or 2 days or even an hour, but it's a passionate moment. And it's on the floor and nobody's ever going to see it. It breaks your heart. But nowadays, with the DVDs, you can get them all back in.
The Goonies came to play a big role in defining a decade, but the movie's popularity could not be confined by it.
It's an 80s picture, of course, but there are elements of just kids interacting that are eternal, you know, and I think Dick really tapped into that. And that, to me, that's kind of the magic of the picture, I think.
I knew we were trying to make it slightly a little harder edge than, you know, we talked about penises and swear words and telling the Spanish housekeeper these terrible obscene things. So it was a little more than a kid's film. I ran it in a local theater to see the quality of the picture. And I got a whole bunch of people to come in. And that was really my first preview with an audience. It was before we screened it all. And I was embarrassed to ask them at first, you know, because I asked from this age to this age to this age. And they all really loved it. And I said, oh my God, what have we done here? What have we rendered?
You know, Dick Donner said it. He said this will be a classic. He had a feeling back then, before it came out in the box office.
I think the reason why it's such got a cult following is that these kids are now adults.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing after 25 years that the passion for the movie in terms of the fans has just continued to grow. And I think it's pretty, for me, the answer of why that has happened is it's very clear. The movie was made with love. From top to bottom, everybody, it represented something very special to everyone at the time that it was made.
And it's growing and growing and growing. I mean, we have this function in Astoria 20 years after the fact, and we've got people coming from Australia, Japan, all over Europe. We had a couple of fellows here from Milan. I mean, it's wonderful, and it's just, I don't get it, but I like it.
I tour with my band around the country, and every city we stop in, there's people with Goonies shirts. There's, people yelling Goonies from the audience, which is always fun when you're doing a rock show.
I've been in places with bigger movie stars in this country, and where they think they're getting sought after by a group of these college kids, and it's me, from Goonies.
I think that Warner Brothers is going to be stiffing me on residuals for a long time. God bless them. I think that's fantastic.
Everybody puts their passion into it, and I think when you do that and you get a little bit lucky, I think that the style of movie that they made was just almost at the end of the way that kind of movie was made, and I think it struck a chord.
That's been the most extraordinary thing that's ever happened to me in my life is Goonies. Goonies I can go anywhere and I can talk about some of my deeper films, Inside Moves, which I love desperately, or Radio Flyer, which I love, or Lady Hawk, or things like that. And they'll invariably say, yeah, but didn't you do Goonies? And I say, yeah, I did.
What we did is very special, and it's perfect. It's locked in its time.
I mean, people, it's just all over the world. They love it. All over the world.
And the world is waiting. Will there be a Goonies 2?
The future is probably going to be a Broadway musical. It's in the process now. We're putting it together. When I say putting it together, we're hiring director, writer, and the music group.
Dick and Steven Spielberg are both, passionate about that movie, and everybody feels that you have to. There's no reason to just go make a sequel for the sake of making a sequel. If it doesn't capture the same spirit that made people want to be a Goonie, then there's no reason to call it Goonies 2.
It's going to be a musical of the Goonies, and it will be quite traditional to its original piece. And
I'm not trying to say that. And the important thing, I've been saying, Dick, there's like Douglas Fairbanks. They used to have in the Hollywood system. You'd spend a lot of time, you do your publicity, but then there'd be your dance training and so on. He won't go for it. Won't pay for the dance training, so I guess they're gonna have to hire actual singers and dancers. Sorry.
Hey, Dick, do you think that means we can have a job in this musical?
I can take tickets.
Definitely not.
Thanks very much. Enjoy the show.
Good.
Thanks very much.
Because I'd be glad to be an usher.
Yeah.
An usher you can do.
People to their seats.
There's a house for
You
you.
go down, you look on the left side. There's
With a flashlight. I'll have a flashlight.
This is what it was like for months.
DC
For months.
15D.
You know, we always ended it like this.
So Ron, I'm signing this release here. Okay. Now, I want the non-disclosure because I know that what you gave Joey got 5%, right? And I'm getting 35%.
I don't know what the hell your question was, but I think, did I answer it? Oh, I hope so. I go off on tangents, so.
Don't worry about that.
You got everything you need? Because I don't want to fuck you up.